Like to call the meeting to order for the Oxnard City Council Public Works and Transportation Committee meeting for January 23rd. Madam Clerk, do you have anything you want to read?
Roll call.
Okay.
Member Zaragoza.
Here.
Member Valenzuela.
Present.
Chair Perello.
Here.
The agenda for the meeting was posted on the City Hall Bulletin Board on January 16th, 2024. Thank you.
For those that are not in attendance, there is an opportunity for the public to call in. The information is available on the website. In the future, we'll have the clerk read that information for us. As far as the flag salute, I'd like to have Councilmember Arthur Valenzuela lead us, but when it comes to a moment of silence, I was not in the military. Some people have been, some people have not. You learn real fast, just in regular everyday life. Life can change in a minute. We recently had 2 Navy SEALs lost in the Red Sea in an exercise. One slipped from what he was doing, the other one went to save him. And they both, now the Navy has declared them lost. They were named Navy SEALs Warfare Operator, 2nd Class Nathan Gage Ingram, 27 years old. The other one was Navy SEALs Operator, 1st Class Christopher J. Chambers, 37 years old. Whether you're in the military or civilian life or public service or retired, life can change in a moment. These 2 people were doing something to protect our country. Whatever your views are on the world situation, what's going on right now, they were trying to interdict weapons that were potentially coming against our people. And I'd like to take a moment of silence for them, please.
Please stand. Right hand over your heart. Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America, to the republic
for which it stands,
one nation,
under God,
indivisible, with liberty and justice.
and justice for all.
Thank you. First item tonight, public comments on items not on the agenda. Do we have any, Madam Clerk?
We have one virtual speaker. Caller with number ending in 4978. Please unmute.
Hello?
Yes, please
My
go
name is
ahead. You have
Stein.
3 minutes to speak.
Go ahead, please.
Larry Stein. My name is Larry Stein. I'm a member of the public. I'm somewhat concerned with the fact that we had a meeting 2 weeks ago, and the meeting was canceled, but there's no notification that the meeting was canceled. I tried calling several times for an agenda item that was not answered. The item 2 weeks ago was an item to renew the contract for 10 years for the golf course. I submitted questions and issues to be raised. I'm somewhat leery of the city's ability to commit to long-term contracts, especially completing long-term contracts. We have several long-term contracts dealing with the building of our parks, namely Sports Park, Campus Park, and College Park. These were commitments made by City Council 15 plus years ago, and Public Works has not been able to complete these commitments. Not too long ago, 3 years ago, Public Works made a commitment to build a pool at College Park. The city manager promised to build the pool at College Park. Again, after countless meetings and a long city council meeting, the city council voted to have the park built, and 2 weeks later, the city manager promised to build the park. This is in 2022. The spring of 2023, city council and the mayor and the city manager decided not to build the park. I can come with countless examples where the city makes commitments to do things, and Public Works makes commitments to do things, and the Public Works not able to complete the job. We got the bridge at Rice and Fifth Street that's supposed to be built. This is a critical project, been sitting on the drawing board for 15 plus years. Wells are supposed to be built. Bonds were passed in 2010 to build the advanced water storage well. Again, taxpayers are paying millions and millions of dollars a year on the bonds, and the city and the Public Works have not completed these projects. Again, I was very leery of the city making commitments for a 10-year contract just because somebody wants to improve the capital works at the
30 seconds.
at the golf course. Please don't approve this contract. It's not even on the agenda for renewal again. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Stein. Mr. Stein, I'm going to ask our Assistant City Attorney, Michelle McCarron, to please explain why the meeting was canceled. And I am not sure whether those items will come back to Public Works or they will go to the City Council. We could possibly have our city manager address that. But you brought up some good points, and I believe you'll appreciate the explanations you're going to get.
Chair Perrella, the meetings were canceled for lack of a quorum, and the notices were posted outside of City Hall as well as on the city website. The earlier committee, Finance and Governance, ran significantly over the time and into the time limits of the two other committees. And when it was noted that the rest of the council members for the other committees would not be coming in order to allow members of the public to speak, it was posted that no quorum would be achieved, and those meetings were canceled.
Thank you. And Mr. City Manager, is there any explanation? Oh, okay. Mr. Public Works Director, Michael Wolf.
Yeah, thanks, Chair Perrella. So the question was about bringing those items to the next step. So the items that were on that agenda for PWTC will be going to council, all the items.
Directly to council.
Correct.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that. I hope Mr. Stein heard that, and I hope the public understands the explanations. Thank you. The next item is a consent agenda, City Clerk Department, subject approval of the minutes. The recommendation of the Public Works and Transportation Committee meeting approval of the minutes for December 12th, regular meeting as presented. Do we have any changes, corrections, or additions, fellow members?
No, none that I know of, no.
Do we have a recommendation?
Move approval.
Second?
Okay, roll call, please. Or no, we'll use this. Okay, please vote.
Motion carries 3-0.
Okay.
Oh, good. Okay, thank you.
Okay. The next item on the agenda is reports. Number 1, Public Works Department. Public Project Agreement Number 324-00281 with Quinn Company, doing business as Quinn Power Systems, for on-call stationary generator maintenance and minor repair services. Rebid. Specifications number PW24-15R. The recommendation that the Public Works and Transportation Committee recommend that the City Council approve and authorize the mayor to execute an agreement with Quinn Company, DBA Quinn Power Systems, Quinn, in the amount not to exceed $420,000 for a 3-year term ending from the effective date of the agreement for on-call stationary generator maintenance and minor repair services. This is available on the internet under the site that we have, but because of the voter-approved Measure M, there's not a physical presentation here tonight, but there is a available question from our staff. And do we have any?
Jose, right?
Yes.
I understand that this is going to be on call basis, number one, and number two, that the repairs, potential repairs, is for all divisions, not just for one division, correct? Except for, I think, water and wastewater. Is that correct? Can you give some more information on that?
Yes, it's for multiple divisions. Good evening, Jose Arriola, Fleet Services Manager. This contract is for water, wastewater, and some of the emergency.
Or it's just the other way
generators.
around then? This is water, wastewater?
Water division, wastewater division of Public Works, and fire, and PD.
Okay, just, I had it inverted then.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, that's good, and it's a 3-year contract then,
Yes,
for $420,000
yes,
on a call basis.
on call basis.
Let me, quick question, if we don't get any calls the first year, is it still 420,000?
So there's scheduled services that will be performed during this.
scheduled
And it'll
services.
be on a task order base. There are annual services that are performed, for example, the load bank testing, which tests the generator, the power that the generator's putting out, just to make sure that everything is it's functioning properly.
So regardless, it's still gonna work on the generators and
They
so
will
forth?
be working on some of the
Okay, so
generators,
that
yes.
makes sense.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Excuse me, Chair Perrella?
Yes.
We do not have any speakers in person or virtually for this item.
Thank you very much, City Clerk. Thank you. Do you have any questions?
No questions. I just wanted to say, the other week I took a tour of our fleet services and just wanted to thank Jose for leading that tour. I took with Director Wolf, and I really believe it. Trust our staff when it comes to trying to do as much as we can in-house, but needing these out contractors just in case we aren't able to meet these needs for different reasons. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much thank you for the work, Aurelio.
Arreola.
I apologize. I apologize.
It's okay.
As the mayor asked, if there is no major issues where we have these, we routinely check them. And I can
Yes.
just explain from being involved in agriculture at a younger time in my life, you didn't just check the wind machines when you wanted to start them. You made sure they ran so that when you went to start them, they started. The batteries worked, the radio, everything worked.
Yes.
And there's nothing worse than having a tremendous investment and a tremendous amount of trust, and oops, somebody forgot that the batteries aren't there or something like that. So
Yes.
I appreciate the work that the Public Works doing. I appreciate the staff report. And just as a sidelight, I can share with you, it may not be this item on the agenda. City Attorney, correct me if I'm going way out of bounds. This is the first time after a major rainstorm that I haven't been inundated with people complaining about potholes. They understand the rain, the potholes happen. We're doing a hell of a job. We're doing a very good job fixing these types of things. And hats off to all the people in Public Works. So thank you very much for this.
Thank you.
Good.
Recommendations on this?
Move approval.
Second.
Please vote.
Motion carries 3-0.
Thank you, Madam Clerk.
Thank you, Jose.
Next item on the agenda is Public Works and Transportation Committee again. This is agreement number 324-00297 with Petroleum Telecom Incorporated, doing business as Telecom Inc. for mobile radio equipment, parts and accessories and installation, repair and maintenance services. The recommendation that the Public Works and Transportation Committee recommend the City Council approve and authorize an agreement with Petroleum Telecom Inc., doing business as Telecom Inc., for a one-year term with the option to extend for 4 consecutive one-year periods for a maximum contract term of 5 years and a total contract not to exceed amount over the entire possible contract term of $900,000 for mobile equipment repair, parts, accessories, and installation, repair and maintenance services on an on-call as-needed basis. Again, there is not a presentation at this time because the voters approved Measure M, and enough said about that. It is available on the internet. We do have Mr. Aurelio again.
Chair Perrella,
And
Jose.
again, Madam Clerk, are there any comments on this item?
we do not have any public speakers in person or we do have a hand. One moment, please.
Thank you. Any questions?
I'm just gonna make it easier, Jose.
No. I got to learn.
Jose.
Go ahead, Mr. Stein. You have 3 minutes to
We
speak.
got a speaker.
I beg your pardon.
I thought we did, excuse me.
Mr. Stein?
Good evening, members of the committee. Good evening, members of the committee. I'm somewhat concerned where this contract excludes public safety. As you're aware, there are a large number of vehicles that use communication devices both for fire and police. The budget's already set aside for maintenance of these contracts, but there are other departments that use communication devices as well. I have to get a clarification as to whether this contract includes or excludes public safety. Thank you very much for your time.
Is he done?
Any further comments, Mr. Stein?
No, he's off the line.
So
No
Jose,
additional speakers. Thank you.
Madam Clerk.
excuse me, is that correct? You know, that we're excluding police and fire? Don't they have a different frequency on the radios? Or
No, this contract includes police and fire.
police and fire, that's what I
Yes.
thought I had him, because they're, in fact, one of the things that you mentioned in your report is that they're 24/7 compared to the rest of the divisions.
That's correct.
And also that, that they are single source vendors, correct?
Yes, some of these radios are under certain contracts that allows, our procurement allows us to use those contracts. And those are for some of the radios that we utilize, which are Kenwood and Motorola radios, which are pretty much a standard out there within the public,
So therefore, they provide the parts and accessories, installation and repair and maintenance of services as required.
That's correct, yes. Fleet does the initial assessment of what is needed on the vehicles. If we can make the repair, we'll make the repair, and if it needs to go to the contractor.
And one of the things I like about that too, Michael, and your folks is, or the police, they're used mainly to communicate with the yard and the bosses, but many times, if they're in trouble, they can always call too, you know, and ask for help with using those radios. I know when I was about 200 years ago, we had a driver that got burned by acid because we had compactors at the time, side loaders, and they poured acid. Somebody put a gallon of acid, and when it compacted, it just splashed all over him. And the thing that saved him was a radio. He called the radio, so instead of going out there and as a supervisor, we called 911 immediately. And they really helped him, you know, really he was burned from one end to the other. So not only for work and et cetera, but also for safety issues, which I think is important too.
Yes.
Thank you for that.
Can you explain, if we have the radios that cover all the different, apparently all the departments in the city of Oxnard, how do we keep the security of, if a police call goes out and we don't want to share it with everybody, how do they keep that from everybody else's radio? How does this work?
There are certain regulations that PD needs to follow, and maybe one of the PD representatives can help us out with this one. We got some of the PD, Fernandez here.
Good evening.
Hello, thank you for coming up.
Absolutely. Good evening, city council, city staff. Just,
And the main reason I would ask, it's like, okay, we're following a car, we think somebody's a bad guy in the car, they've got a kidnap victim, and we're not gonna tell everybody in the world, but you wanna keep, how do you,
we're on a different frequency. We're on a different protected frequency. It's not easy to get onto that frequency, so that's not something they would necessarily be able to get onto our frequency that way.
so can I guess Public Works equipment would not have that frequency on their radio?
Public Works may have that frequency and be able to get onto it, but it's not something that they would necessarily need to get onto during the course of their work.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, thank you for that, thank you for coming up and answering, thank you. Okay, I know that one of the questions that comes up for a specific committee that we have is called Measure O. And they often ask questions about, well, how many radios do we get and how often do they get replaced and things. As the mayor has given an example, the radio is a life support deal. Difference of life and death in some situations. And so you have to have good stuff. And unfortunately, like going out to dinner, if you want something good, it's expensive. You can get something cheap, but it may be good and may be nourishing, but it may not be. And when it comes to your life, you don't want to be chintzy with how you spend the money to take care of these people's lives. So With that, unless somebody has a comment, I'll move this item. Do we have a second?
Second?
Thank you. Please vote. And I want to thank Mr. Stein for calling in.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Motion carries 3-0.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. And thank you to the people that presented. Next item, number 3, agreement number 324-00334 with J.I. Grandata Transport for supplemental waste transfer hauling services from the Del Norte Regional Recycling and Transfer Station. The recommendation, the Public Works and Transportation Committee recommend the City Council approve and authorize the mayor to execute an agreement with J.I. Grandata Transport for an amount not to exceed $5 million for an initial 1-year term with an option to extend for 2 additional 1-year terms ending March 1st, 2027, to provide supplemental waste transfer hauling services from the Del Norte Regional Recycling and Transfer Station. Again, due to Measure M, there's not a presentation at this meeting. We do have staff to answer questions. It's available on the internet. Madam Clerk, do we have any comments on this one, public?
Chair Perrello, we do not have any speakers in person or virtually for this item.
Thank you very much. Does my committee members have any questions?
Yep, good presentation, by the way. You know, I know that, I think you had 4 bids on this item.
Yes.
In is it Grandar?
Gendar, yep.
Grandar, they're the transport that came, that met all the qualifications. And one of the things that I think is important to the public to understand that we haul, 195,000 tons per year? 195,000 tons, that's a tremendous amount of waste. And you're mandated too, my understanding, Eric, that the tipping floor has to be clean. Is that on a daily basis, right?
That is correct. The permit requires the Del Norte MRF material recycling facility tipping floor to be empty within 7 days.
Within 7 days.
So any material that comes in there has to be out within 7 days. That's a permit requirement.
And if you don't clean it that day, it's gonna pile up the next day and the next day, and it's after a while, it's gonna be pretty tough, you know, to remove most of that waste.
Correct.
And so by having the supplemental waste transfer hauling services, it's extremely important to meet those mandates.
Absolutely. And it fluctuates. For example, if there's a nearby construction project or if there's some sort of work being done in the city, and then the materials brought to the Del Norte site, this waste management contract allows us, the supplemental hauler agreement allows us to move that material as we need to and fluctuate as the material comes in.
And also my understanding that you also have agreement where we have waste that has to go, green waste and garbage and so forth that goes to agreement also. And that has to be hauled too.
That is correct. Yes, so we haul green waste, as you said, food waste, and agreement is where that goes, correct.
Santa Paula? Or
There are
do we still
two
have some in Oxnard?
There
No
are
more.
2 sites that we take the material to. Bear with me just a second.
Santa Paula and Simi Valley for.
Okay.
Thank you.
Santa Paula, Simi Valley. So last question that I have, do our trucks go up the grade or do they go by Santa Clara over to Somas and then to Moore Park?
It's the latter.
Moore Park.
Yep.
And the reason I'm asking is because I know when I was with the board, we had to pay Moore Park several $1 million just to use their road right through Moore Park. So is that part of the transfer station cost?
Any cost that we would have to pay, it would be a part
It
of
would all
this
be
agreement.
part of the tipping
That's
fees?
correct. Yep.
Yeah. Okay, well, thank you. Excellent presentation, by the way, and that's $5 million, right?
Not to exceed 5 million.
Not to exceed 5 million. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Excuse me, Chair Perrello.
Yes,
Mr. Stein has raised his hand.
okay.
Thank you. Mr. Stein?
Well, I'm somewhat concerned with rising fuel costs. To what extent are there riders in this contract to allocate ourselves in case fuel costs go up exponentially. Again, fuel costs have temporarily gone down, but they can rise again. I'm somewhat concerned. Again, I'd like to get a clarification to the exact site to where the waste is being hauled to, and to what extent are toxic waste being hauled. Because there are some points where certain waste cannot be stored locally, but have to be stored out, have to recycled to be out of the county. I'd like to get a clarification of both the biohazard waste that's be hauled, as well as waste that might be hauled outside the county. Again, I'd like to get a clarification on that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Stein.
Yes, if I may. So the fuel costs for the supplemental waste hauling contract are included in the rates that are provided in the staff report. So those fuel costs for the term of the contract is included in those rates. For the comment as to where do we store hazardous materials, this supplemental waste hauling contract is strictly for trash that's going to be landfilled in a Class 2 landfill. This is not speaking towards hazardous waste components or hazardous waste materials, and is not a part of this contract.
Just before I turn to Councilman Valenzuela, my understanding is our landfill does not take, or our MRF does not take biohazardous waste. Am I correct?
That is correct. Universal waste we take, but no biohazardous.
And so if biohazardous waste comes into our site or has seriously hazardous waste, it's, we deal with it, but it's some kind of violation. Somebody's in hot water that came and brought it to our site. There's some sort of sanctions or fines or?
Correct. So we would not accept it. We would refer them to a contractor. We currently contract with Clean Harbors. So it would go to another contracted facility.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Do you?
Mr. Chair, and what would that site be? For example, if I had hazardous materials and you won't take it, where is the location where we can take it? Or the company that takes it?
Or
Yeah,
where would Clean Harbor take it to?
Clean Harbor, yeah.
Clean Harbors, they're within the city of Oxnard. Their physical address, I do not know offhand, but they are in the city of Oxnard.
They are in the city, okay.
Yep.
Actually,
Michael?
I'm sorry, I'm being corrected. Camarillo is what I'm.
Oh, Camarillo? Oh, okay, thank you.
If there is hazardous waste, does Clean Harbor hold it there, or is Clean Harbor hightail it? And if they do, where does it go from?
Class
Kind of
one.
trying to answer in depth
Yeah.
Mr. Stein's question.
maybe I want to make a clarification here. We got to be careful about using the word hazardous waste.
Oh, and yes,
Right.
there's all kinds of stuff
Okay.
that's hazardous.
So there are specific types of waste that we don't take at the MRF, and we contract out some of those waste streams that we don't take at the MRF with Clean Harbors. Now, if we're talking about illegal hazardous waste that potentially shows up, that's a different story, right? And those are things that we have to address on a case-by-case basis. And we'll either bring in a third party to help us do that process, and it'll be taken to whatever the legally required disposal site is.
It's a Class 1 site.
Right, there's a lot of places where landfills take certain types of materials and other places don't, right? And sometimes we have to, for example, asbestos, that can only go to certain places, right? Can't go to all landfills. So we gotta be very careful about categorizing everything as hazardous waste that's best, maybe controlled substances that don't go to certain landfills.
And I appreciate that, Mr. Wolf and Mr. Zerk. The example that the mayor gave of the individual getting burned with the acid, I mean, that's why the public is told there's certain things that can go in the trash and certain things that can't. When we have these major cleanups for neighborhoods where there's often people there, paint and things, maybe, but solvents and acids and stuff, no. I can tell you, while serving on the Ventura Regional Sanitation District, there was a big issue when a roll-off truck came in and started to dump. And what it was a pickup from Community Memorial Hospital. And there were body parts, bodily waste, bloods, fluids, all kinds of stuff came out. It was a big red flag, and some people, there were sanctions involved. And it was something that the hauler apparently did not know what was in there. It was trust, and the trust got violated, and there was sanctions. And luckily, the operators of the track layer, the bulldozer, saw what was going on. So things happen. That's why the safety of the people that work in public works, just as, I don't want to beat a dead horse here, but just in the moment of silence, things can happen. I mean, we've had things brought to our MRF. I think there were explosive devices brought to our MRF a couple of times, sometime in the past. and they've dealt with, but it's the public, it's, a lot falls on the public to do what they're supposed to do. And there are knuckleheads in this world that don't like to follow the rules. I don't have any further questions. I appreciate this. The $5 million sounds like a lot, over a 3-year period. Everything is expensive. If we need it, we use it. If we don't spend the full amount. And it's good to have a backup plan. I do see also that we are looking at potentially working with, the city does not have a current contract with Toland Road or Conchita Canyon landfill for potential backup if something were to happen at CME. With Chiquita being in the news recently.
That's right.
And having shared with the staff, there's a lot of eyes focused on what's going on in the trash business. The trash is a very lucrative business, but it's also a serious health hazard if people don't handle it correctly.
It's a health and safety issue,
Yep,
really
that's
important.
big time.
Thank you, Eric.
Thank you.
Any further public comments, Madam Clerk?
We do not have any additional speakers. Thank you,
very
Chair
much.
Perrello.
Do we have a recommendation?
Move the recommended action with Gandara.
Second.
Okay, please vote.
Motion carries 3-0.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Next item on the agenda, number 4. Public Works and Transportation Committee, department-wide blanket purchase order number 324-00318 for the not-to-exceed amount of $455,000 for Consolidated Electrical Distributors doing business as Royal Industries Solutions, specification number PW23-39. The recommendation that the Public Works and Transportation Committee recommend that the City Council approve and authorize the purchasing agent to execute a blanket purchase order with Consolidated Electrical Distributors doing business as Royal Industry Solutions for a not-to-exceed amount of $455,000 through June 30th, 2024, with an option to extend through June 30th, 2025. Again, due to Measure M, there's not a full tilt presentation. We do have staff if there are any questions, and appreciate the staff report. And I believe Mr. Howlett will be to answer any questions. Do we have any public comments on this, Madam Clerk?
Chair Perrello, we do not have any speakers, virtually or in person, for this item. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Do we have any comments or questions on this?
And again, Steve, you know, this, again, this is for all divisions, right? And understand that, this company, Consolidated, was the most responsible bidder for this really important electrical work. Is that correct?
Correct. As a supply for electrical components, this is general electrical components for all divisions to utilize. It is a vendor that we have used in the past, and so when we solicited for this new purchasing agreement, they were the responsive bidder.
And I think you have to June 30, 2024, with options to extend through June 30, 2025.
Correct.
The option is because we need them, or what, where, or how does that work?
Correct. It gives us the option, as these companies like to adjust their prices. So this will get us to 2024 through 2024, and then we can see if they have any price changes and how that's going to negotiate into the agreement.
Well, the electrical work is extremely important, which I think, you know, it's good that we have Consolidated because they have the experience and we know how they work, and that's really important for all of us. That's all I have.
Attorney, correct me if I get out of bounds here. We recently got some information about something that happened at the Port of Hueneme with the electrical circuits and stuff. And apparently, if the equipment had been put a little higher elevated off the ground, this might not have had a problem. Are we potentially looking, when we have to change any electrical equipment, if there's a need for something like this, so that we would include that in parts? We need to, maybe there's a platform that's a part number or something, just to avoid something that happened, because their PR piece they put out said they took a hit of 30 to 40 million bucks, and that's a hell of a shave and a haircut. And
Chair,
just,
oh, I'm sorry. Chair Perillo, that really wouldn't be relevant to this agreement. This agreement is for electrical supplies. So this is for replacing switches, light fixtures, wiring, that type of thing. When we're looking at elevating platforms for flood, that goes more into a capital project. This is just for us to be able to go out, our various departments, like say the Parks Division needs to relamp a sports field. We can go to this vendor and get the lamps and the ballasts we need to put in new lights for the sports fields.
Okay, thank you for that. The reason I asked, I know that we've done a lot of work in the sanitation department, in the sewer department, with having previous old stuff, and they built new stuff, and it's higher up because of this potential. So you've answered my question.
Mr. Chair, and also Steve, with the blanket distribution order, purchase order, that expedites the need as opposed to having to rebid all the time. And now you have a complete blanket order where you can go buy the divisions or information or items that they need without having to go individually.
Correct, Mayor Zaragoza. As a standard practice for municipalities, blanket purchase orders are often used for high turnover items, so such as janitorial supplies.
Right.
We will use a blanket purchase order so we can restock our janitorial supplies. For this agreement, this would be for our electrical supplies, so we can stock up on lights, fixtures, wiring, whatever we need to be able to keep the lights on.
Very, very important, yeah. Thank you, sir.
And again, the mayor's right, this stuff's extremely important. The electricity is involved in public safety and security for our facilities. Are there any further comments by the board? If not, I'll make a motion to approve this.
Second.
And please vote.
Motion carries 3-0.
Thank you. Are there any items that the members have as a future item for Public Works Committee meeting?
I don't.
None. I also do not. I, again, want to thank Public Works for everything they're doing. Mr. Howlett, that neighborhood where the sidewalks were changed out and the tree roots were taken care of, they're very appreciative. We have some other neighborhoods that have brought stuff to our attention, and we're getting to it. And I want you to please share that with your employees, and Mr. Wolf too, because the people that really raise cane, for the most part, they're not raising as much cane, and I believe that they're being told by some of their fellow residents that things are getting done by the city of Oxnard. So I greatly appreciate it. With that, the meeting is adjourned.
Thank you.